Let me tell you a scene. The year is 1983. The man in charge of American military intelligence, General Albert Stubblebine, sits in his office. He gets up from his desk, focusing on the wall at the other end of the room. And he runs with all his might and hits the wall. He breaks his nose and falls to the ground. Do you think he's crazy? No. He knew that atoms were 99% empty space, and he was sure that if he believed enough, he could pass through that space. Today, it is the subject of Hollywood movies, thought to be a conspiracy theory, but it is completely documented. We'll discuss the strangest military project in American history: psychic soldiers, Jedi warriors, and men who look at goats. Psychic soldiers, Jedi warriors, and goat watchers. Welcome. This story actually begins with a trauma. Vietnam War. It was a nightmare for America. Not just because of the losses, but because the brutality of war destroyed the spirit of the soldiers. One of those soldiers was Lieutenant Colonel Jim Channon. When he returned from Vietnam, he had only one question in his mind: do we have to fight? If we have to, can we do it without losing our soul? Channon took a leave of absence from the army and went on a 2-year quest for the truth. He went to California and met with New Age gurus. He meditated in hot tubs and experimented with psychotropic substances. And he went in as a soldier, but came out as a warrior monk. In 1979, Channon returned to the army and presented a 125-page report to commanders, 1st World Battalion Field Manual. Friends, I found and read this report online, and I swear to you, it's a joke. Channon said, the soldier of the future should not carry a gun. They should carry with them ginseng, musical instruments, and young ones, yes, lambs or kittens. The tactic was this: you enter enemy territory, show the lamb in your lap, you embrace them, and the enemy stops fighting in surprise. Another technique: sparkling eyes. Soldiers must look at the enemy with such love and intensity that the enemy lowers his weapon. You're laughing, right? But the generals at the Pentagon didn't laugh. They said, let's try this. So how was this madness funded? Enter General Albert Stubblebine III. He is the head of INSCOM, which commands 16,000 troops. We must push the limits of our potential, Stubblebine said. But he got it a little wrong. He started hosting spoon-bending parties in his office. Yes, the ranking officers were gathering and shouting at the spoons, bend. In fact, General Stubblebine once ordered his soldiers to disperse clouds with their minds, cloud busting. The scary part is that some reported that the clouds actually broke up. The headbutting incident I described at the beginning of the video also occurred during this period. The man was so convinced that he could defeat physics. Things are getting serious here. Because the CIA was also involved. Subject: remote viewing. Hearing that the Soviet Union was conducting psychic research, the United States spent millions of dollars to prevent the psychic gap from occurring. The most famous mediums were Ingo Swann and Pat Price. They were putting these guys in a bunker in Maryland. They were just given a coordinate. For example, 49 degrees north, 32 degrees east. The incredible thing is that Pat Price could go to these coordinates mentally and use a top-secret Soviet crane system, described it down to the number of screws on it. The CIA was in shock. Thus, Project Stargate was born. It's safe to say they were fortune tellers for 20 years on government salaries. But they are said to have hit 15–20%, which is a high percentage for the intelligence world. But every story has a dark side. The idea of peaceful, warrior monks evolved over time into psychic assassins. The Goat Lab was established at Fort Bragg. The goal wasn't to care for the goats lovingly. It was to test whether a soldier could kill a living creature without physical contact, simply by focusing. According to legend, a martial arts master named Guy Savelli, the inspiration for the character in the film, he stared at a goat so intensely that the goat's heart stopped and it died. The reality of this incident is still being debated, but there is a known fact: the military has seriously experimented with using psychic powers as a weapon. Even projects like the gay bomb, making enemy soldiers fall in love with each other, are products of this period. So what happened? Were they able to walk through walls? No. Could they kill people with their gaze? Probably not. The project was shut down in 1995, after a CIA report deemed it useless. Stubblebine has been retired. Channon settled in Hawaii and created ecological designs. But when you look at the US Army's Special Forces training today, you see breathing techniques, visualization and mental toughness training. All of this is a legacy of Channon's nonsense handbook. Perhaps the greatest madness is war itself, and trying to make it humane, it's harder than trying to get through a wall. Thank you for watching. Do you think it is possible to dominate matter with the power of the mind, or was it all Cold War paranoia? Let's discuss in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.